Got a voicemail from a doctor. My fiancée was unconscious after a playful experiment went wrong. When I walked into the room, the nurse held up a chart and said, "What we found. It explains everything." I looked at my fiancée and simply said, "I'm done." I never imagined I'd be sharing my story here, but recent events have left me reeling, and I need to get this off my chest. Maybe writing it down will help me process everything. I'm Mark, a 34-year-old software developer living in Chicago. For the past 3 years, I've been engaged to Sarah, a 32-year-old nurse. We met at a mutual friend's party in Lincoln Park, and our connection was immediate. Sarah's vibrant personality and compassionate nature drew me in, and it wasn't long before we decided to move in together. We found a cozy apartment in Wicker Park, a neighborhood known for its eclectic mix of boutiques, art galleries, and restaurants. Our life together felt like a dream. Our relationship was filled with shared interests and routines. We both loved exploring the city's culinary scene, often trying out new restaurants and cafes. Weekend brunches became our thing, and we had a list of favorite spots we frequented. Sarah's job at Northwestern Memorial Hospital kept her busy, especially with the demanding shifts and occasional overnight duties. I admired her dedication and often tried to make her life easier by taking care of household chores or surprising her with dinner after a long day. One of our favorite activities was hiking. We often drove out to Starved Rock State Park, about a 90-minute drive from the city. The park boasts 13 miles of well-marked trails, featuring canyons and waterfalls. We loved the physical challenge and the opportunity to disconnect from city life. Those hikes were our way of reconnecting and discussing our future plans, including marriage and starting a family. Sarah had a close-knit group of colleagues at the hospital. They often organized social events, and I was always supportive of her attending them. I believed in giving each other space and trusted her completely. She frequently mentioned Daniel, a fellow nurse, in her stories about work. From her descriptions, he seemed like a friendly and supportive colleague, and I thought nothing more of it. Everything changed on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday evening. I was at home, preparing dinner and looking forward to a quiet night. My phone buzzed, indicating a voicemail. I listened, and my heart sank. It was a doctor from Northwestern Memorial Hospital. His tone was professional but carried an undertone of urgency. He informed me that Sarah had been admitted unconscious after a playful experiment went wrong. The term puzzled and alarmed me. What did he mean by playful experiment? My mind raced with possibilities, each more concerning than the last. I grabbed my keys and rushed to the hospital. The drive felt interminable, each red light an agonizing delay. Upon arrival, I was directed to the ICU. The sterile smell of the hospital, usually a reminder of Sarah's dedication, now felt oppressive and foreboding. A nurse approached me as I reached Sarah's room. She held a chart and looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and professionalism. "Mr. Thompson?" she inquired. I nodded, unable to find my voice. She glanced at the chart, then met my eyes. "What we found, it explains everything." She handed me the chart, and as I scanned the medical jargon, one term stood out: foreign object retrieval. My stomach churned. I looked past the nurse into the room and saw Sarah lying on the bed, pale and fragile, and four attached to her arm. Beside her sat a man I recognized but couldn't immediately place. His disheveled hair and guilty expression sparked a realization. It was Daniel, her colleague from the hospital. The pieces clicked together with a sickening clarity. The playful experiment wasn't some innocent mishap. Sarah and Daniel had been involved intimately, and something had gone terribly wrong, landing her here. Betrayal washed over me, a tidal wave of anger, hurt, and disbelief. I stepped into the room, my footsteps heavy. Daniel looked up, his face flushing red. Sarah's eyes fluttered open, and upon seeing me, tears welled up. "Mark," she whispered, her voice hoarse. I held up a hand, stopping her. "Don't," I said, my voice cold and steady. I turned to Daniel. "Get out." He hesitated, glancing at Sarah, then back at me. "I'm so sorry," he mumbled before scurrying out of the room. Silence enveloped us. Sarah reached out a trembling hand. "Mark, please let me explain." I took a deep breath, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. "Explain? You were with him, here, in this hospital, while I was at home, trusting you." Tears streamed down her face. "It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I never meant to hurt you." I clenched my fists, trying to control the storm of emotions. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. This is betrayal. She sobbed, covering her face with her hands. I was feeling disconnected, stressed. Daniel was there, and it just happened. I regret it more than anything. I shook my head, stepping back. "I came here, worried sick after that voicemail, thinking something had happened to you. Only to find out you've been unfaithful." She looked up, desperation in her eyes. "Please, Mark. I love you." It was a lapse in judgment. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Love? If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this." The room felt suffocating. I needed air, space to think. I turned towards the door. "I'm done, Sarah. I can't do this." She let out a wail, but I didn't look back. Walking out of that hospital room was the hardest thing I've ever done. The woman I envisioned a future with had shattered our dreams with a single act. I didn't go back home that night. Instead, I drove around aimlessly through the quiet streets of Chicago. The lakefront was calm, too calm. Everything outside looked normal, like nothing had happened. But inside me? Chaos. I crashed at my buddy Sam's place in Logan Square. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a beer and a blanket. I didn't sleep much. Just kept replaying everything in my head, Sarah's voice, the nurse's face, that damn hospital chart. The next morning, Sarah had called 7 times. I didn't answer. The 8th time, I finally picked up. I don't know why. "Mark, please. I need to talk to you," she said, her voice cracking. "Not about excuses. Just talk." "Talk about what?" "About how you nearly died screwing your coworker in a hotel room while I was cooking your dinner?" There was a long pause. "I know I don't deserve anything from you," she whispered. "But there's more you don't know. And you need to." I didn't say anything. "Please." I agreed to meet her at the apartment. I told Sam I'd be back later, but I had a weird feeling I wouldn't be. When I walked in, the place looked untouched. Like a scene frozen in time. Sarah sat on the couch, her face pale, her eyes swollen from crying. "I wasn't going to say anything," she started. "But you deserve to know the truth." I didn't sit. I stood near the door, arms crossed. She took a shaky breath. "I didn't meet Daniel at the hospital. I knew him before." That got my attention. "What do you mean?" "We dated. Before I met you. Briefly. It ended badly. He was controlling. I thought I'd gotten away from him. But then, he got transferred to my unit. I tried to keep it professional. But he started pressuring me, bringing up the past. It wasn't a coincidence that he ended up working at Northwestern." I stared at her, unsure what to believe. "So, he stalked you?" She nodded slowly. "He manipulated me. He knew where to push. I was weak. I let him get close again." I still wasn't sure. "And the hotel room?" "He booked it. Said he just wanted to talk somewhere private." I agreed. Stupidly. One thing led to another, and then the experiment he suggested, it went bad. He panicked. Left me there unconscious. My stomach turned again. "So you're telling me this wasn't an affair? That you were coerced?" Her voice lowered. "It started with me giving in. But it ended with him leaving me to die." I didn't know what to think. Anger, pity, confusion, everything was mixing. I sat down finally, rubbing my face. "And you never thought to tell me about him? That you had history?" I was ashamed. And afraid of what you'd think. That night, I didn't sleep either. The next day, I made a decision. I needed the full story. I called one of my friends, Rachel, who worked in hospital admin at another clinic. She owed me a favor. Rachel dug into Daniel's records. What she found blew things wide open. Turns out, Daniel had been disciplined at a previous hospital in Indianapolis for inappropriate relationships with coworkers. Not illegal, but shady. He'd left under pressure and got hired at Northwestern quietly. I felt sick. I showed Sarah the info, and she broke down. I told HR, months ago. They said they'd monitor things. I didn't push harder. I didn't want to look like I couldn't handle it. That's when I got involved. I met with a lawyer. I wasn't sure what I could do, but I wanted Daniel held accountable. But before anything could move forward, Daniel vanished. Stopped showing up to work. Disconnected his number. His apartment? Cleared out. Gone. And then weird stuff started happening. I got a flat tire. Twice. Both times, nails were found lodged deep in the tread. Sarah said she thought she was being followed while walking home from work. Her mailbox was open one night. Empty. Her key still worked. We went to the cops, but they couldn't do much. No hard evidence. No crime. Yet. I started carrying a small bat in my car. Sarah switched to day shifts only. We tried to act normal, but every noise at night made us jump. Then one day, I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of me and Sarah, walking out of our building. The message: "She's lying. Ask her about Minneapolis." Minneapolis? I showed her. Her face strained. She sat down slowly. "Before I met you, I was in Minneapolis for 6 months. I was in a psychiatric facility." I blinked. "You what?" I had a breakdown. After my dad died. It was quiet. Nobody knew. My mom helped me hide it. I changed my records when I moved here. Does Daniel know about that? She nodded. I told him once. In confidence. I felt my hands shaking. And now he's using it. Sarah just cried. I'm sorry. I didn't know how deep this would go. I didn't either. But I was starting to think this wasn't just about cheating anymore. This was something darker. Things only got stranger after that text. I started looking over my shoulder more often, and so did Sarah. We tried to carry on like everything was okay, but it wasn't. There was a quiet tension in the air, like something was always watching. You don't forget that feeling. About a week later, I went out to my car in the morning and found an envelope tucked under the windshield wiper. No name, just my license plate written in blocky handwriting across the front. Inside was a USB drive. Now, I'm not the most paranoid guy, but I've seen enough horror stories online to know plugging random drives into your computer is asking for trouble. So, I used an old laptop offline. Just to be safe. There was one file on it. A folder named Look_again. Inside? A bunch of pictures. Screenshots, to be exact. Emails. Texts. Chat logs. All between Sarah and Daniel. Some were flirty, sure. But others? They were different. One message from Sarah read, "We need to be careful. He's smart. He'll notice." Another from Daniel, "Don't worry. He's too in love to think anything's wrong." My stomach dropped. Another one from Sarah, dated maybe 3 months ago. "The plan has to work. I can't be with Mark anymore. But I need time." I stared at the screen, heart pounding, hoping, praying they were fake. That it was all edited. Doctored. Something. But the timestamps matched up with the weeks she said she'd been working late. Nights she'd come home tired and smelling like a different cologne. Nights I told myself not to be suspicious because I trusted her. I confronted her that night. She didn't deny it. Not right away. She stared at the screen. Silent. Finally, she whispered, "That was before I got scared of him." What part? The planning to leave me? The lying? Or the pretending like he forced you into it? I asked, my voice rising. I didn't mean for it to go that far, she cried. At first, yes. I thought I wanted out. I thought Daniel would be a way out. But then he changed. He started talking about controlling me, owning me. And by the time I wanted to stop, I couldn't. He had things, photos, messages. He said if I left him, he'd ruin both our lives. I didn't know what to believe anymore. You were going to use me. As a backup plan? I asked, trying to stay calm. No. I changed my mind. I wanted us to work. I swear it. She pleaded. But you never told me any of this. Not until now. Why? Because he forced your hand? Or because you finally got caught? She said nothing. Just cried. That was the night I left, for real. I went back to Sam's, this time for good. I started sleeping with the lights on, locking my doors twice, keeping that bat by the bed. But it wasn't over. 3 days later, my work laptop got hacked. Emails gone. Files corrupted. My cloud storage erased. My phone started glitching, resetting out of nowhere. It didn't feel like a coincidence. I went to the cops again, but they weren't much help. Get a new phone, they said. Change your passwords. Lay low. Real useful. That same week, I got a call from an unknown number. Mark, the voice said. This is Daniel. I froze. I know everything she told you. I know she lied to you again. She's not what she seems. But I'll give you a chance. What chance? I asked, trying to sound steady. Meet me. Alone. We talk. You'll get all the truth. You can decide what to do next. He gave me an address. A diner in Cicero, just outside the city. I didn't tell Sarah. I didn't even tell Sam. I went. The diner was nearly empty. Just a couple old guys drinking coffee and some tired waitress wiping down the counter. Daniel was sitting in a corner booth, wearing a black hoodie, ball cap low over his face. He looked worse than I expected. Bags under his eyes. Greasy hair. Twitchy hands. You came, he said, almost surprised. What do you want? I said, standing. To give you this. He slid a small manila folder across the table. Inside were printed copies of legal documents. Police reports. Mental health records. And a restraining order. Not against Daniel, against Sarah. Look closer, he said. The reports were from Minnesota. The timeline? About 5 years ago. 2 years before I met her. Sarah had been admitted for delusional behavior, paranoia, violent outbursts. One report said she tried to attack a former boyfriend after accusing him of cheating. Another said she'd made false police reports about being stalked. The restraining order? Filed by Daniel. For years ago. Later dropped after she left the state. You think she's the victim? Daniel said, leaning in. She's not. She's a manipulator. She made me look like the villain. But she's dangerous. You've only seen half the story. I didn't know what to say. Everything felt upside down. Was she playing me? Was Daniel the real threat? Or was everyone lying? And then he dropped the last bombshell. She's pregnant. She didn't tell you that part, did she? I felt the blood drain from my face. I don't know if it's mine, he added. Or yours. He stood up and left without another word. I sat there in that booth, staring at those papers, that last sentence echoing in my head. Pregnant? None of this made sense anymore. But I knew one thing, I wasn't close to the truth yet. I didn't sleep the night after that diner meeting. Daniel's words played over and over in my head like a broken record. She's pregnant. She didn't tell you, did she? I didn't want to believe it. But at that point, not believing would have been just another lie I told myself to survive. I went back to the apartment the next day. Sarah was there, sitting on the couch, wearing one of my old hoodies like she used to when she wanted comfort. The moment I stepped in, she looked up, and I saw it. She knew something had changed. I met with Daniel, I said flatly. Her body went rigid. I've seen the reports. From Minneapolis. I've seen the restraining order. The text messages. All of it. Her eyes welled up. She didn't even deny it. Mark, and he told me something else, I continued. He said you're pregnant? Silence. It stretched so long I almost thought she wouldn't answer. Then, barely above a whisper, yes. The air left my lungs like I'd been punched. Even when you know something's coming, hearing it out loud hits different. Why didn't you tell me? She stood slowly, like the truth weighed her down. Because I don't know whose it is. I was going to wait. I wanted to protect you. Protect me? I barked out a laugh, sharp and bitter. From what? From knowing that the woman I was going to marry has been lying to me over and over? It wasn't all lies, she said, wiping her eyes. I never stopped loving you, Mark. Love? I said, stepping back. You planned to leave me. You slept with him, multiple times. You covered up your past. You dragged me into whatever this sick triangle is, and now there's a baby and a stalker and God knows what else. That's when it all snapped. She screamed. Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I planned this nightmare? I've been barely holding it together since my dad died. Every day felt like I was pretending to be normal. And Daniel, he saw me. He knew how to get in my head. I was weak. But I didn't ask for this. The door opened behind me. Sam had followed me here. I texted him earlier, just in case things went sideways. He walked in, took one look at the room, and froze. You good? He asked me. I nodded, even though I wasn't. Sarah, maybe it's time we all took a breath, he said gently. But she wasn't hearing it. No, Mark needs to hear all of it. She stepped closer, voice shaking. You want the full truth? Fine. I loved you. I still do. But I was broken when I met you. You were stable, safe. I thought I could fix myself by being with you. But when the darkness came back, I didn't want you to see it. I went to Daniel thinking I could keep it compartmentalized. But he used it against me. And then I got stuck. Trapped. I wanted to get out, but by then the damage was done. Tears streamed down her face. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm not even asking you to stay. I just wanted you to know that not everything I gave you was fake. The tension cracked. I stood there, watching her crumble in front of me. And I realized something. I didn't hate her. I pitied her. I pitied the broken parts of her that never got help. I pitied the part of me that thought I could save someone who wasn't ready to be saved. Sam put a hand on my shoulder. Let's go. I turned to leave, but Sarah's voice stopped me. I'm keeping the baby. No matter what. And if it's yours, I'll never keep you from them. I looked back one last time. If it is mine, we'll figure it out. But you and me? We're done. She didn't argue. The fallout was messy. A week later, Sarah filed a formal report against Daniel. With my help and the documents he gave me, the hospital launched a full investigation. Daniel was officially terminated, and last I heard, he'd left the state. Sarah started going to therapy regularly. She texted me once in a while with updates, baby health, legal stuff, but I kept things short. We were civil. That's as much as I could give. The paternity results came back 3 months later. It was mine. I didn't cry. I didn't cheer either. Just sat there with the letter in my lap, staring at the name of a child I hadn't met yet. I agreed to co-parent. I'd be there, but from a distance. I wouldn't raise my child in chaos, but I wouldn't run away from responsibility either. As for me, I moved out of the city. Took a job in Evanston, near the lake. Found a tiny place with too much light and too much quiet. But it helped. Sometimes I think about how close I came to marrying her. About the life we were planning. About how a single voicemail turned my whole world upside down. And yet, in a strange way, I'm grateful. Because now I know what it looks like when love turns into survival. And I know what I'm worth. I'm still healing. still sorting through the pieces. But I'm walking forward, not looking back. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It just makes you start over.